so then I have the honor and privilege to introduce you to Finn, which is an artist friend and comrade. And he's going to tell something, well, let you experience something, and you will introduce yourself later, right? Or do you? Yeah. Okay. So, Finn, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really want to set up the slides if they were in a different PowerPoint. Yeah, hello everyone. As you've noticed, I've kind of distributed some papers and some pencils and some markers. And before I'm gonna say more, we're first gonna do something. Yeah. So I would kind of like to invite you to kind of leave the mind a bit and enter the belly and the heart a little bit, and kind of start to feel and reflect a bit on what's going on in Europe, in the world, around the topic of health justice. You know, we've all come together here for very urgent reasons, I think. And yeah, maybe we can take a minute to feel really what's going on and how we relate to that. So yeah, maybe you want to close your eyes for a second and yeah, take a pause and breathe a few times. And maybe reflect on, yeah, what makes you angry, or what gives you hope, what makes you cry late at night, but maybe also what, yeah, gets you out of your bed in the morning. And if you feel like you've, yeah, entered a particular feeling or gone back through a particular experience that you had, I would like to invite you to get a paper and a pen or a pencil, whatever, yeah, whatever you like, which color you like, and yeah, with this very simple question, to create something based on that feeling, and make it personal, make it emotional, make it felt. Create something. It can be written, it can be visual, it can be a drawing, it can be a poem, it can be anything that you would like to make. But just take, I think, around 7-8 minutes to create something from that feeling related to health, to something that's personal to you, maybe to something that's totally not personal, but related to someone that you care about deeply. All right. A few people still creating. Take another 30 seconds. Maybe meanwhile, 1 or 2 people would like to really share what they made. Don't have to, just an option.
Really in our group, so
No, just I'll give you the mic and you can just tell in 1 sentence what you made. Then we'll go to the next slide.
I think I can say, I think it's less, yeah, you go.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about how us people always just think I bring to the an eye and what an eye can see, and how it sees just greed, individuals, growth, profit, competition, exploitation, inequality, and consumerism, and how outside the viewpoint of this eye, there's other possibilities, other things that are available that can be done, which are communities, people, collectivism, sharing, and standing side by side, and social justice. And so how we just focus on the reality and what we see, and sometimes it's hard to see what other things are outside our viewpoint, let's say.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And 1 more person, maybe?
For me, what I was thinking was when I was listening to Juliette before talking. Sometimes when we're fighting for health justice or other things, it sort of feels like you're on your own. And I had this imagination of like a big storm like on my head falling and me with an umbrella just trying to like sort of fighting and protect what's there to protect underneath me in this little umbrella. And then when you were talking about all these movements for like quite a long time ago and all the stories from it, it made me think of like really big roots that are like underneath the earth and that are like actually like profiting from this rain that's falling, and they're like rising, and like I grew like plants like coming out and sort of like me watching this come out of the earth and be like really happy and relieved and just joining these roots and leaving my umbrella. Yeah.
That's amazing, lovely. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I guess what we've done with this exercise is create images, create stories. And I guess, yeah, this is a very heartbreaking example of, I think, the power of images and stories. This is made by Banksy, I think last Christmas, and it reflects a Palestinian mother with her child. Yeah. Yeah, no words needed, I think. So today I just want to briefly talk about why organizing resistance needs media, needs images, needs storytelling. Yeah. And before that, I'll just introduce myself quickly. I'm Finn, I'm 23, I'm from the Netherlands, I live in Rotterdam. I'm super new to the People Health movement, so I'm learning a lot these days, and I really enjoy it. And I recently graduated in audiovisual design at the Art Academy, so filmmaking basically. I'm a filmmaker, but also in political philosophy, critical theory at the University College in Rotterdam. And I'm involved in projects around storytelling. So Film is our film collective with which we try to make films around topics around social justice, climate justice, and really use the power of visual storytelling to imagine different worlds possible. But the project I'll be talking about today is called Feel and Rise, which is a publication project. And this project, Feel and Rise, started, or like the first idea started around 4 years ago when I wrote a column that I submitted to, newspapers in the Netherlands. And it was about kind of the mental impacts of the climate crisis and how it's affecting young people's minds today. But no newspaper wanted to publish it, to my frustration. Very annoying, because I was like, this is so urgent. But then I was like, what if I would publish it myself, and what would that look like, and could we even do that? And it slowly started, the seeds that grew bigger over the years. And it's all related to this idea of that we need new media. And I came across this Instagram post that was just posted like a few days ago after the Dutch elections. I think we were all aware of what happened there.
I think so.
We're not? Okay. Well, I'm sorry. It was a very disappointing result again from the left perspective. The extreme right is still very big. The left in total, is the smallest ever. It's really unbelievable. And then I came across this post that really, really resonated with me, which says, it's not so much that we need to find a new story or a better story as the left. It's just that our story is super good, but it's just not being told, and media don't put it in the center of our attention. So this person is saying, like, we need to tackle the media landscape and really direct our attention to stories that are more progressive, which is also nothing new. Like, it's already like the Frankfurt School critical theory. We're already talking about the way mass media kind of, influences our societies and kind of fucks up our societies also. And I guess it comes from this idea that media is nothing else than storytelling, really. Like, it's just stories that we consume every day, and it shapes the way we relate to ourselves and to others. And when this storytelling becomes visual, uses images, touches on the emotions, it's art, and art is not just like, it doesn't just reflect our society. Like, media don't just reflect our society, they even more shape our societies here. So you could say that we want to build a different world, we also need to build different media. And I think the power of art really is that we can, get to the hearts and the emotion, which is often, or from my experience, like a really more powerful place to act from than just from facts and rational stuff. And yeah, stories, as I said, like they shape subjectivity, they shape the way we relate to ourselves, we relate to others, we relate to the world around us. And these are some examples of the things that were created in previous events that we hosted. And I think they also help in decreasing the perception gap, which kind of relates to this idea that we structurally underestimate the extent to which other people are concerned about the things that we are concerned about. So making visible what we are concerned about and what's going on inside of us can literally help to find each other on different levels, let's say. And I think ultimately that comes back to this system. That's okay, we live in a capitalist system which has all kinds of symptoms of like climate change, whatever, like health injustices. But it's underlying, it's a certain culture, a certain way of relating. And underlying that again, it's really the stories that we tell each other that we believe in. So indeed, I think I really like this quote by Bertolt Brecht saying that art is not a mirror that reflects reality, but a hammer with which to shape it. So that's the first point, that we need new media, more stories that show really what we have. And I think that's something already that we are aware of, that we need this. This is the page of the Gezondheidszaak, the Dutch speech and movement by Juliette and Roberts. It is crucial in resistance, but it's also something that I feel like the left is not so good at yet, or it's not happening enough, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the first thing. We need more storytelling, but we also, I think, need to change the way media work. So not just different output, different content, but also, changing the way we create stories. So like, just like we need to reclaim the means of production, we also need to reclaim the production, the means of production of media, which kind of, we have the feeling, I think, in social media that we can all create it ourselves, but obviously, as you know, we don't own social media, it's owned by big tech and they steer our attention. So in my opinion, that's not radical at all. And I think this is also really coming from the belief that, radical politics happens in altering social relations. So it's not just that, okay, we start to consume different content, but the way media can shape social interactions, that's maybe much more radical and, worthwhile. So a few years ago, we brought this idea to the Art Academy, and with a few other people, we started to kind of craft this initiative that we call Feel and Rise. And we really wanted to focus on the feeling parts, let's say, because meanwhile, I was also, learning a lot more about the world. I was taking a course about the climate crisis that really pushed me down the drain and into existential crisis and grieving process and whatever. And I really went rock bottom there. And I started to realize that going rock bottom was crucial for me to start acting, and it ultimately got me to like Extinction Rebellion and whatnot. And here I'm laughing, but deep down I'm crying. But I also started to kind of experience how this grieving was essential to also be able to start hoping again and to, practice active hope. And from that kind of, both being two sides of the same coin, also to start acting from that place. And I think another thing, I'm currently reading Bell Hooks' The Will to Change, is highly recommend. And she's really saying that, feeling stuff is also an act of resistance in a system that doesn't allow for feelings, defined as capitalist patriarchy. And so I think those are kind of like the theoretical foundations that we build this project on. So then we asked ourselves the question, what if we could make visible and tangible what we feel, what we sense, also like physical sensations? What does health injustice really feels like? What does it smell like, et cetera, et cetera? And what do we long for in a world of crisis? Like, what do we want? What do we imagine? And can we make that visible and tangible in public spaces? So that's why we came up with this publication project that combines like real life dialogue, creative expression and storytelling, and subversive publishing. And we really try to have the audience of the paper at the roots of its creation. So we do workshops like what we did now in 5 minutes. We do that in like an hour in other places. We do like dinner dialogues where we hold the publication together after we've eaten and talked about these things. And we're also looking into doing distribution walks so that the distribution of the paper can also be like a social community gathering in itself. Yeah. And indeed, like content-wise, really focusing on feelings, emotions, making space for like, yeah, collective grieving, but also sensations, hope, and imagination. So this, and we do it around particular themes. It was about, well, war and militarization. And we really try to stay away from publishing these content on social media and really focus on printed media. And through that, in really small gestures, kind of try to reclaim spaces that are usually just meant for commercial stuff. We just put it there, like no one is saying that you cannot do that. You can just do that, basically. So we try to, yeah, through that, construct that a bit. And we want to decommercialize it, so it's all free. People can just grab it, and once they finish reading it, give it away again. And yeah, so we kind of create that circularity. And it's also really nothing new. Like there's been zine culture and like subversive publishing culture since centuries, I think, and it's especially, I think, among marginalized communities, really rely on telling their stories and doing so in underground ways. And I think with this project, we try to kind of explore the space between really the underground zine culture and more of the top-down mass media, and can see if we can, yeah, find a space between that that makes it more accessible, but still very bottom-up. Ultimately, yeah, with the goal to make visible and tangible our collective consciousness, the deep reasons why we are all here, and to make them feasible. So to really build this community rooted in affect and emotion, and also to empower people to become storytellers, I guess, and to tell their stories. And I think yesterday someone said that we should move the political determinants of health away from sort of an expert position into like lived experience, and I think this is really a method that can do that. That can really, in a very bottom-up way, literally show these lived experiences of these political determinants. Yeah. So yeah, to shift the narrative, we need to become bottom-up storytellers, and I think storytelling is then not so much a means to activism, but it is activism in itself, I would say. Yeah, so we try to expand this project and work together with other organizations. And that's also why I'm here today, to kind of talk about this with you and to kind of explore together also how we can integrate this into maybe PHM, et cetera, et cetera. So very curious also what you think, and we've also just started and we're learning by doing. So this afternoon there's a workshop that you can choose, and then we're gonna actually make a zine, make sort of like a mini newspaper from the creations that you made. And also talk kind of about these questions, like how can this empower people? How can it be integrated in current practices? But also, how can these feelings, emotions, and sharing those, how can it ultimately also do collective action? That's why we call it Feel and Write.